And can I recognize my friends based on their writing styles alone and the kind of content that's there? So, well, I guess we'll answer these questions in this video. Hey guys, welcome to another video. So, I don't know if I've posted any recent videos talking about my channel, but I'm kind of like not into the whole writing advice thing. Like, I may have some in the future. Obviously I still want to keep in the same, books and writing kind of niche, if you will, but I needed new content ideas, and so I've got a lot of different writing challenge ideas, and this is going to be one of those videos. So one of the things that I've seen in other YouTube videos, especially like musician videos, is where they have to guess who's singing. Like, you see a bunch of TikTok videos where there's like a group of people and they're all like singing, but they're all lip singing except for one. One person is the actual singer and you have to kind of guess who it is. I think it was Two Set Violin, that is one of the channels that I love to watch, did a kind of variation of this, where they had to guess the song and stuff, and I was like, well, I really want to do something like that, but with writing. And so I came up with this idea, a writing version of that. Obviously, it's a little different than just a singer like on a screen. So I came up with this idea to get a bunch of my writer friends together, and they all write in a Google document and post a random scene or excerpt from one of their stories that I've never heard of, never seen, do not recognize. And they post them in there, and I read each one and have to match the writing, like the piece of writing to the writer, basically. And then at the end, they should have inserted their names and all the titles as an answer key in another document, and I'll look and see how close I got, basically. And that's going to be the fun game writing challenge. Basically, guess the writer. So can I match these scenes to the proper author or writer of these scenes? Can I match it? And what I'm thinking is that a lot of it's going to be based on writing style. Each of these authors I specifically picked out, one, because they're my friends, two, because I've worked with them or read their content at some point enough to be either where I've heard of it or heard it being either read or I've read it myself. And so I'm at least familiar with their style of writing. And so the question is, obviously every scene, every book is different. So does your writing style stay consistent enough to be able to recognize you without knowing who you are? And can I recognize my friends based on their writing styles alone and the kind of content that's there? So, well, I guess we'll answer these questions in this video, and I really hope that you enjoyed this. So let's get started. I have not looked at this. I basically put everybody in a chat and told them what to do. I created the Google document, but it was blank last I saw it. And then I told them what to do. And after a couple of days, after everybody had some time, they all posted their story. And then the same thing with the answer key. And I have not looked at either of these, obviously, because I told them that I didn't want to see anything until the video. Obviously, that's the Guess the Writer answer key. Guess the Writer challenge. So, here we go. Alright, I'm going to be reading these. So, entry number 1. She was getting thinner. It broke my heart to see. Oh, I guess I should actually list out the authors who were involved in this. Right. After doing some clever math, I figured out that there are 4 authors, 4 entries, so there's 4 authors, 4 possibilities of what these entries could be. So each of these authors wrote an entry, and I have to guess who wrote what, basically match the scene or excerpt to the author. So first of all, I'm going to introduce the authors just so we're aware. So first up is Alan Stedham. He is a published author by Ambassador International, and he's the author of Mindfire and the Jordan of Alderan series. Second off, we have MICHAELA Baker, who is an upcoming author. She's been published in several anthologies so far, and including one dystopian anthology called Iron Walls. Next up, we have Poppy KUROKI, who is the author of the Black Diamond series, including Chania, which is a book that I edited, by the way. And then last up, we have SARA, who is the author of The Seeds of Euphemia. I cannot pronounce it. at all series, and Magenta, I believe, is her other book that she's got out. So I'm so sorry that I butchered both Poppy's name and Sarah's book series. I read it back when it was called something else. So anyways, so those are the 4 authors. Let's get to this. Okay. Entry number 1. She was getting thinner. It broke my heart to see. She used to be so full of life, happy and vibrant. She looked amazing on her wedding day, so sure. But now her skin had a gray pallor, a sad look in her eyes as she smiled at me. Hey, Sadie. My heart squeezed. I wanted to help her so badly. Who's at the door? I barked a voice from upstairs. She froze. It's me, I called up, just bringing over some food. Oh, wait. Fun fact, reading this out loud, I am not actually able to kind of like concentrate on what I'm reading, so I won't be able to guess the stories as much. I can read them out loud if you want me to, but I will put the link in the description below so you guys can actually read the entries yourselves, because I can't concentrate with crap, and there's no way I can guess who wrote what if I'm literally not able to concentrate. So I'm going to read this silently, and then I'll talk about my thoughts on each entry and who I think wrote them afterwards. So that was entry 1. Definitely got me curious about the book and everything. It appears that this woman's getting abused, and her friend is very concerned, and the guy sounds like a big jerk, literally a big fat jerk. Alright, so we're on entry number 2 now. I'm going to read all the entries first and do my guesses at the end of the video. Well, that was intense. So entry number 2 is a little longer than the first one, but it was this action scene with this guy named Kirk. He had just come back home to his parents, and he was hoping that his mother would be here, but the dad said he hadn't heard from the mom, so he goes inside and hears a voice, and it gets really creepy as he goes down in this hallway and hears the voice, and then he enters the room, and he thinks his mom's in the room, and it's really messy, and then there's a snake that appears in the room, kind of a serpent, which is more dragon-like in my head because there were scales mentioned, and it starts chasing him and attacking him and stuff. So it was really intense, ended on a major cliffhanger. So we're on entry number 3. Woof, that last bit. Okay, so entry number 3 is shorter than the others, but it was really like intense, really like second person actually, which is rare, and it's written kind of directed toward the reader. I did something similar to it in my book Hunter in the beginning, and it's like this book, if you're reading this, it's very dangerous. You know, they burned the books in the past, so it's got a very dystopian feel to it, and in the end there's just this bombshell with, I'll tell you why I am dead. So that was definitely really intense, even though it was short. So all of these are like really, really good, really intense, and definitely like dropping me in the middle of these scenes really makes me interested in the whole story and how it all fits together. Okay, so entry number 4, this is the final one. Okay, so that was all entries. Again, I highly suggest that you click the link in the description below when you're done with this video and read the entries, because they're very, very well written, and I really loved each of them in their own way. So let's get to my assessment and or my guess. So remember, our authors that we're looking for is Alan Stedham, MICHAELA Baker, Poppy KUROKI, and SARA JOLENE. So each of these authors I've known and am familiar with their writing because I've read their content at some point, or heard it read, or, you know, anything, something like that in each case. So the first entry we had, I've got to remind myself here, this person is this friend of this woman who is really frail, and she's in a really bad physical state, and the guy has a soft belly beneath, or a well-fed enough, a soft belly beneath the knitted sweater she bought him for Christmas, and then they see a bruise, and obviously the friend wants to do something about it. So it's very, the story itself seems to be very heartwarming, very realistic in the sense that you have real life problems and real life issues, abuse, and deals with really heavy topics, which obviously I do believe any one of these people would cover. I know that MICHAELA Baker is more of a fantasy style author. Poppy seems to be too more medieval fantasy, although I don't know if she has any other content. I've only read the one Chanria from the Black Diamond series. I know Sarah's more hardcore fantasy. I think Magenta may be contemporary, but I don't know. And I know Alan has delved into pretty much every genre under the universe because he's epic like that. And he has this thing where he's like, it seems like he's really trying to, oh, my paper started to fall, where he's like delving into each new genre every time he writes. And it's really creative. So he has a superhero set in the real world. He's got obviously a space western for the anthology for me. He's got the sci-fi series, which is the Jordan of Eldoran series, and he's got a steampunk series he's working on, and I know he has one modern one. So it's hard to kind of guess which author based on the genre alone. So let's take a look at the writing styles themselves. So this one is in first person. Honestly, it tells a lot about an author on their preference, whether they like to write in third or first person. And it doesn't really tell a lot personally, but it just kind of like, that's one indicator. Like for me personally, like I prefer to write in third person, although the early Valiant stuff is in first person and I hate it and it makes me cringe and I want to go back to third. Oh, this is hard. I'm probably going to get this. Okay, first of all, disclaimer. I am probably going to get this completely wrong, and it's going to be embarrassing because my assessments are going to be way off on guessing this. So we've got entry 1, entry 2, entry 3, and entry 4. Okay, the first one is honestly one I'm stumped on. I know entry 4 really jumped out at me, and I have a solid idea. So here's my assessment for entry 4. I'm jumping around. Well, let's assess the others first, and then we will get back to it. So, back to assessing. Entry number 1 is written really well. I do see a few grammar mistakes and stuff here and there, but obviously that happens, you know, in first drafts and stuff like that. Like it happens with every writer because we can't escape the, you know, making mistakes. But it's written very well, and there's very really like vivid, realistic descriptions. Well fed enough, soft belly beneath the knitted sweater. I mentioned that before. I don't know why, but that description was really good. I loved this one too. Her skin had a gray parlor and the sad look in her eyes as she smiled at me. The emotion in this one, I feel like, is a really good strong point. She looked amazing on her wedding day, so sure. Like, it really hits you in the feels. He looked well enough. And the anger shot through me. Tell me you fell down. I felt, liar, how long has he been doing this to you? You can feel the animosity toward the man, like toward the situation from the character. And again, it's really emotional. Purple yellow bruise forming at her temple. So the descriptions are really good and the emotions are really heavy with entry number 1. That's my assessment. I have no guesses for entry number 1 yet. So entry number 2 was the one that was really action-packed, really intense, and this person, whoever wrote this one, did a fantastic job at drawing out the suspense. So at first everything seems normal. He comes in, he sees his dad, and then we get to know his character in a little bit, that he really wants his mom to be here, but he's not sure. We get to know him and his dad because the dad's like, hey, I made lasagna, and I'm thinking, oh, that sounds really good, you know, really yummy. And he looks in there, and the cheese was almost black, and if it was anything like dad's spaghetti, most likely the noodles would be rocks and sauce inedible. And he reaches for an apple. Like, you have this beautiful lasagna, but it's actually not beautiful. It looks obviously really burned, and then he grabs an apple instead. So that one says a lot about their dynamic, a lot about the dad's character. He can't cook, but he tries, and he really does care and seem to want to, you know, at least cook on a special occasion. But then it starts getting really intense, and it gives me the horror kind of vibes, but not like a horror kind of thing. It's not horror per se, but it just gives me those vibes, mostly because I'm easily freaked out. And he goes to the doorknob, he gets inside, a low hiss came from behind the door. Was he imagining things? And then there's just all kinds of really good description of the room and how messed up it is. You know, you can almost smell the smoke. The smell of the smoke overwhelmed him. There was 4 ashtrays, so I can only imagine this like smoky kind of room that just reeks. And then all of a sudden there's a tail and there's a serpent and everything. So it's very intense, very action-y, kind of suspenseful. And so my suspicion for this one is MICHAELA Baker. And I have no real, so I may readjust these, but this is my guess right now. So I think it's MICHAELA, and my main reasoning is because it seems to be a serpent or dragon, and I know that she's obsessed with serpents and dragons. Not serpents, but she's obsessed with writing dragons, and I don't think I've ever seen her write anything that didn't have anything to do with dragons. Okay, that's over-exaggerating. Obviously she has. But she's obsessed with writing dragons, and so the serpent really jumps out at me as something she would like to do. And then her action scenes are written in kind of like the way that I've seen her action scenes written before. It's hard to kind of pinpoint it, but the really intense, kind of suspenseful, kind of we're not sure what's going on, but things are really intense very quickly, is very MICHAELA-ish. And if somebody else wrote this, I'm actually going to be shocked, because I think I'm 100% guaranteed on that one. Listen to me be so confident, and then it's like, yep, no, you shouldn't have been so cocky. Okay, so entry number 3. This whole thing automatically screams SARA to me. Me and SARA, let me give you a little bit of background on me with each of these authors. So on Alan Stedham, we were both published by Ambassador International together for a short time, and I'm not anymore, but I know from his books that he is such a really good author. He's very, in terms of, how do I want to say it, like very powerful Christian content. He writes to bring God glory, and he always like prays before he writes, and he's very in tune with God, and he seeks to write things to kind of bring God glory. And it's just, he's a very mature author, and very, obviously he's older than me, so he's got a lot of years of experience, storytelling experience too, under his belt, so to speak. And again, the way that he always honors God with like every word on the page is just so inspiring to me. So that's a little bit of background with Alan. I haven't officially read any of his stuff yet, but I have seen and read excerpts online and heard him read like in videos and a lot of his YouTube content and stuff. So that's a little bit about background with Alan Stedham. The background with MICHAELA Baker, I was a writing competition judge and host for about 4 to 5 years on Wattpad for a while, and she was one of my early contestants in several of my authors games, and she basically returned back several times to join my authors games. And I've watched her come, like, from the start, become this really young writer and grow into the young author that she is today, where she's published in several anthologies. And for me, it's just so touching to see her have grown that much. And I had to basically judge a lot of her entries over the years, so maybe I'm a little bit bold in saying this. I feel like not really a mentor to her, but kind of like that feeling, I guess. And it's just like, I've worked with her a lot. We've worked on story ideas, scene ideas together many times, and again, our love for like dragons and fantasy kind of, you know, connected that way. And so it's really, I have probably a more familiar with her style because I've judged many of her entries and edited so much of her content over the years. But the thing about MICHAELA is that her writing style has changed from when I first knew her. So she's constantly growing and constantly improving and getting better. And it's just, it's really touching and heartwarming to see just how far she's come, and the point that she is now, where she's like getting published in anthologies, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's awesome. So Poppy is next. I've actually recently met her within the last year or so. It's probably been a little less than that, maybe. I don't remember. I have a terrible memory. But I first discovered her on Facebook, and I really love her stuff, and then she became an editing client of mine. I edited her book called Chania, and it's like a short story, but it's very medieval, very kind of like my style of stuff that I love to read and edit, and not really edit, but it's basically like the kind of style that I really love to read and that I really get into is the medieval setting in a fantasy novel. And it was like these prisoners were going to be executed, but then they were they were saved by the soldier, and the soldier basically went on a journey with them, but then there's a twist, and it's just like the descriptions, and it was like this really epic medieval fantasy style book, or short story, I should say. And so I'm not as familiar with her writing style, but based on Chania, it's like she is so amazing, and I felt very like she's such a better author than I am. Like, I felt very just like honored to be her editor and to be helping her improve this amazing story. So I'm really impressed with her writing style. So her stuff is very medieval fantasy, and I feel like she's very mature as an author, and it's very interesting to see. So that's Poppy and my connection with her. And then last but not least is Sarah Jolene. Now Sarah and I, back on Wattpad, I obviously posted the Valiant series on there for a while, and likewise Sarah did the same with her series that I'm not going to try to butcher the pronunciation again. And basically, she was my first fan, and I was her first fan. We both started reading each other's stories and liking and commenting on every story, every chapter, every time we would update. And for a while, that was all that each other had, was just that one reader, which was each other. And then over the years, she hit Wattpad fame and had thousands upon thousands of reads for her books. And then I hit Wattpad fame and had thousands upon thousands of reads for my books. And we both kind of hit it around the same kind of time period, and through all the times I was writing the Valiant series, she was revising the first couple books in her series, and I fell in love with the world, with the characters, with Todd, with Matthew, Annabella, and I can't remember the last girl's name for some reason. I am so sorry, but Matthew was definitely my favorite. And so she and I fell in love with each other's story worlds, and I fell so in love with her world and the characters, and I feel like we both were growing into who we were meant to be kind of together the very beginning of it. After a while, we stopped really contacting each other, and she did her thing and I did mine, and now, you know, my book series is published and hers is published, and she's revised hers, and it's completely different from how it was before. I haven't really changed too much in mine, but it's just, we started off together and kind of grew together, so I'm very familiar with her style of writing. She has seen me at my best and at my worst, and so with her, I feel like I know her writing style the best. I would say MICHAELA's would be the second best. Alan would be maybe, I don't know, Alan and Poppy I kind of know about the same amount. I know I'm more familiar with Alan's genre and style, whereas I know Poppy's specific writing style. So that is my connection with with all these authors, and kind of a little bit more details about how well I know their styles and stuff like that. So again, entry 2 I think is MICHAELA, based on the intense action and the dragon kind of ish connection and stuff. So obviously that may not be the correct thing at all, but that's just what I'm thinking. So as I was saying before, I had to talk about and assess them. Entry number 3 absolutely screams SARA to me. It's not only is it similar to what I did with Hunter in the whole you know, you were reading this, it's dangerous, you should, you know, turn the page with, you know, be weary, that kind of thing. But the writing style, it just, I can't explain it, but it just screams SARA to me. The way that the words are put together and just the sentences and everything else, it's very SARA-ish. Every word and sentence I feel like is very elegant and very dramatic and has a point and like really hits that point home in this, and it's just so SARA and so well written and so intense that I'm just like, this has to be SARA. So I'm 100% sure that this is SARA, and I'm about 90% sure that that's MICHAELA. So I'm just gonna, for my own purposes, this is 90%, and if I'm wrong, I'm gonna be so embarrassed, but this is gonna be so funny if I'm wrong. It's the entry 4 and entry 1 that I'm not sure about. Okay, so moving on. Entry 4, I have a suspicion that it might be Alan. But here's my assessment really quick. This is very well written, and this honestly is probably one of the cleanest written. I don't see any mistakes in this one at all, and it's written with very mature vocabulary, and it's just like very, it really gets you inside the character. I think his name was Sean. It gets you inside Sean's head. And it's very, like, intense because you're like, okay, this thunderstorm is a big deal, and, you know, he's going about his work, and it's really sad how lonely the guy is, because he literally pretends like he has a dog, even though he can't, I think he can't, like, afford it, or whatever, to take care of an actual animal. Yeah, right here. And some of the vocabulary words is mature, and so to me, this really seems like Alan, and it seems like kind of an older, I guess more experienced kind of style of writing, and maybe I'm totally off, and if so, props to whoever wrote this. But it seems very, very well written, very, very experienced compared to some of the others, which is not anything against the others. It's just I feel like this one has a level of experience that comes with just years of doing this. And also the key thing, the theme. I know Alan used to write comic books, and I feel like that's a very comic book thing to throw in there. And so that's why I'm about 70% sure that this is Alan's. So that would mean that entry number 1 is Poppy's by default. But I think that actually may be correct. I'm about 60% sure on Poppy's. And here's my reasoning on that after thinking about it. I know that Poppy in her Chania book story was very realistic and gritty, like medieval times actually was. Wasn't really watered down. And the descriptions were very, very well done to the point where you feel like you're involved with the realism of the situation. And I feel like with the abuse and the fact that she's gaunt, a gray parlor, sounds very kind of British style of English, and I know that that's kind of her style of writing as well. But the gray parlor, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but hey, I'm a hick. The well-fed, just the bruise under her eye, wherever that is, and the realism and describing how skinny she is, the concern, her fingers were bony. It was like handling the Tupperware box to a skeleton. It feels very gritty and very realistic, which is one thing that I love when books are not afraid to get gritty and realistic, because these things exist. They're very sad and tragic, but they exist. And I feel like that's definitely Poppy and something Poppy would do based on reading Chania and how realistically gritty it was due to the medieval times kind of style that she was doing. So I'm thinking Poppy, and I'm about, I would say 75% sure that that's Poppy's. So I'm going to laugh if I am way wrong, because you guys are going to probably laugh at my reasoning if I'm completely off. But those are my reasons. So in a quick recap, entry number 1 I think is Poppy's. I'm about 75% sure because it's realistically gritty. Entry number 2 is MICHAELA's, and I'm about 90% sure, and I think it's MICHAELA's because of the intense suspicion, the intense suspense, and the dragon kind of link. Entry number 3, I'm 100% sure Sarah's, just because it screams Sarah and her style of, like, writing. And then entry number 4 is Alan's, and I'm 70% sure it's Alan's because it feels very mature and experienced, and the comic book thump, basically. So those are my guesses. That's my reasoning. And I'm very excited to see who is actually, whose entry is whose. I'm very, very excited. So let's do the reveal. Get a drum roll rolling, please. I'm going to get my dog stirred up if I keep that up. Alright, drum roll. Alright, so entry number 1 is Poppy. Entry number 2 is MICHAELA. Entry number 3 is Sarah. And entry number 4, I guess, would be Alan's by default, because the other ones put their answer. Holy, yes! Holy crap, I did it. I promise you guys, I did not see these beforehand. As you can see, I reasoned through them in this video. I have not looked at the answer key until just now. So, I cannot believe I was right. I was like I said, I was 75% and 70 here. 100% I knew it was Sarah's, and I was like 90% sure it was MICHAELA's. I am so shocked. I got it correct. I was so worried I would be like embarrassing myself by getting it all wrong. I can't believe I did that correctly. So guys, they put these answers in the answer key. I did not look at it. I didn't even know how to spell Marlowe, honestly. That's kind of a random thing. But yeah, I can't believe I was correct. Wow. This is so awesome. Okay. So yeah, this was fun. This was really just enjoyable to do and to read. Again, I really highly suggest you guys go read the entries in the comments below. I'll put it in the description, and I'll also put links to the all of these wonderful, beautiful authors' main stuff in the comments below too, to their websites or whatever they've got, because you guys should totally read their stuff. They're all amazing authors. They're really good friends of mine. I consider myself very honored and blessed to be friends with these people and to have written with them and worked with them at several different points. And I'm absolutely very excited. My final assessment is that knowing that I got them all right, if you know an author, it's very, very possible to guess their their works and stuff based on their writing style, and based on like the words that they use and the way that they put things together and stuff like that. So this was a very fun experiment and game and challenge to do, and I hope that you guys have really enjoyed it. Yeah, so I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please like it, share it around, do this challenge yourself. If you're an author and you know some author friends, get some people together just like I did. Like I said, I went on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, put a bunch of people in there and said whoever wants to do this, and paste just a scene or a snippet from your stories, make sure I haven't heard of it, and then paste your names in the answer key and stuff like that. And well, actually we kind of figured that out together, but it was really fun. It's basically kind of like the match the singer to the song, and it's so much fun to do it, match the story to the author, at least a kind of a shortened version of it. And I'm surprised I got them all right, but I know these authors and their styles very well. I'm pretty sure I've read or edited their stuff at some point or another, with the exception of Sarah, but I've read Sarah's stuff so many times, it kind of counts almost. So this is really super fun. Please like it and share it around if you really enjoyed this, and please read the entries and follow these amazing authors. They deserve all your support and all your eagerness and excitement in reading their beautiful stories. And also please be sure to subscribe to this channel for more writing challenge videos to come, and I hope that you really enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.